I want to tell you about two people. The first person grew up in a home where love was loud one day and completely absent the next, where they learned early that they had to be useful to be wanted, where they watched things happen that a child should never have to witness. They carried all of it into adulthood, into their relationships, into the way they worked and rested and loved and feared. They became someone who was always performing, always bracing, always waiting for things to fall apart. And when people looked at their life from the outside, they saw someone successful, capable, held together. But on the inside, that person was still a child standing in a doorway, not sure if today was going to be a good day or a bad one. The second person has the exact same story, the same home, the same wounds, the same early lessons about love and safety and worth. But somewhere along the way, they made a decision, not a dramatic decision, not a single moment of revelation. A quiet, daily, sometimes painful decision to look at what they had been handed and ask, is this mine to keep? They did not pretend the story did not happen. They did not minimize the damage. They grieved it honestly. They named the patterns. They stopped waiting for permission they were never going to receive from the people who withheld it. And then slowly they began to build something new, not on top of the wound, not around it, through it. Same story, two different people. The only difference was what they decided to do with it. This is week 4, the finale of our May series, and I want to end where every honest healing journey eventually has to end, not with the wound, not even with the work, but with the becoming. With the question of who you are choosing to be, now that you have seen what you have seen, felt what you have felt, and named what you have named. Welcome to Ife Random Reflections. I am Ife. And if you have been with us all month, I need to say something before we go any further. Thank you, not the polite kind of thank you, the genuine kind. Because what we have been doing in May is not easy. We named the child who is still living in us. We looked at the cycles we inherited and made the decision to choose differently. We sat with the permission we were waiting for and realized we were the only ones who could give it to ourselves. That is real work. That is courageous work, and you showed up for it. If today is your first time here, welcome. I want to encourage you to go back to the beginning of the May series, because what we have built this month is a complete journey, and it is so much richer when you walk it from week 1. Everything is there waiting for you. Follow this podcast on Spotify if you have not already. Share this finale with someone you love, and if any episode this month moved you, please leave a review. It is how more people find this space. Now let us close this month the right way. Let us go. Every one of us has been assigned a story, not by design, but by circumstance. By the family we were born into. By the things that happened to us before we had the words to describe them or the wisdom to process them. By the conclusions we drew in childhood that became the operating system of our adult lives. And for most of us, that story has a tone to it. A particular flavor of pain that runs underneath everything. For some people, the story is I was abandoned. For others, it is I was never enough. For some, it is I had to be invisible to be safe. For others, it is I was responsible for everyone around me before I was old enough to be responsible for myself. These are not just memories, they are identities. They become the lens through which we see everything, the way we interpret a silence, the way we receive a compliment, the way we respond to love when it comes close, the way we handle our own mistakes. And here is the most insidious thing about a story that was assigned rather than chosen. You start to protect it. You start to curate your life in ways that confirm it, because the story, painful as it is familiar. And familiar, as we talked about in week 2, feels like safe. So even when opportunities for something different come, something in you pulls back. Something in you says, this cannot be real. This cannot last. I know how this ends. And you write the ending before it even has a chance to begin. That is not weakness. That is a nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. Protect you from the thing it learned to fear most. But the protection that kept you safe in a dangerous environment becomes the prison in a safe one. And at some point, the question stops being about what happened to you and starts being about what you're going to do with what you now know. I want to make a distinction that I think is one of the most important things I will say today. There is a difference between your story and your identity. We have confused them for so long that separating them can feel almost impossible. But it is the separation that sets you free. Your story is what happened. Your identity is who you are. Your story is the environment you were placed in. Your identity is the soul that lived through it. Your story contains your wounds. Your identity is not defined by them. Your story is a record of what was done to you and what you did as a result. Your identity is what you choose now, with full awareness, with everything you have learned, with all the grace and courage you have been building. The problem is that when something painful happens to us at a young age, we do not file it under things that happened. We file it under who I am. The child who was abandoned does not think my parent left. They think I am the kind of person who gets left. The child who was criticized does not think that adult was harsh. They think I am not good enough. The child who was overlooked does not think I was in a family that did not see me well. They think I am invisible. And then they spend 30 years living as though those conclusions are true. Hear me on this. Those conclusions are not your identity. They are your wound's best attempt to explain the world to a child who needed an explanation. And now you are an adult. You have better information. You have more capacity. You have the ability to look back at those conclusions and say, that was the only story available to me then. But it is not the only story available to me now. I get to write something different. Not by erasing what happened, but by deciding that what happened is not the last word on who I am. I want to talk about something that nobody tells you when they say your pain has a purpose. Because that phrase, your pain has a purpose, can feel hollow. It can feel like a way of making what happened to you sound acceptable. And I want to be clear, what happened to you was not acceptable. Pain caused by neglect or cruelty or indifference or absence is not acceptable. God did not arrange it, He grieves it. What happened to you was not His design for your life, and He does not require you to call it good. But there is a difference between endorsing pain and redeeming it. Redemption is not the same as making something okay. Redemption is taking something that was meant to diminish you and refusing to let it have the final word. It is looking at the wound and asking not why did this happen, but what am I going to build in its place? Here is what using your story actually looks like. It looks like the person who grew up never feeling seen becoming someone who makes other people feel deeply seen. Because they know what it costs to be invisible. They know what it feels like to be in a room and not matter. And they refuse to be the kind of presence that replicates that in someone else's life. The wound became the compass. It looks like the person who was told they were too much becoming the one who creates space for people who have been told the same thing. The rejection became the room they build for others. And sometimes it looks like this. Like someone sitting in front of a microphone, sharing the parts of themselves they were never supposed to say out loud. Because they know that somewhere someone is listening who needs to know they are not alone in it. The silence they were raised in becomes the conversation they refuse to stop having. That is what it means to use your story, not to perform it, not to wear it as a badge, but to let it make you better at being human, to let it sharpen your compassion, to let it give you a specific kind of wisdom that only comes from having lived through something and chosen not to be destroyed by it. So, what does the new chapter actually look like? Because I think we sometimes talk about new beginnings as though they are dramatic, as though there is a moment where the old self steps off a stage and the healed self walks on. But it is not like that. The new chapter is built in the ordinary, in the small daily choices that most people will never see. It is built every time you catch the old response and choose a different one. Every time the familiar pattern rises in you and you pause long enough to ask whether you want to go there again. It is built in the moment you say sorry to your child for getting it wrong instead of pretending it did not happen. In the moment you rest without punishing yourself for it. In the moment you receive a compliment and let it land instead of immediately deflecting it. In the moment you tell the truth about how you are actually feeling instead of performing okay. These are not small moments. These are the moments where cycles end and new ones begin. These are the moments your children will carry, not the grand speeches, not the perfectly curated memories. The ordinary moments where they watched you choose differently, where they watched you be human and still be good. Where they learned from you, not because you taught them, but because they saw you live it. Because here is what I want you to understand about the work we have been doing this month. It is not just for you. It has never been just for you. Every pattern you name is a pattern your children do not have to inherit. Every waiting room you leave is a room your children will never be placed in. Every time you give yourself the permission you were waiting for from someone else, you are teaching the next generation that permission comes from the inside, that their worth is not conditional, that they do not have to earn their place in the world. You are not just healing yourself. You are changing what gets passed forward. You are deciding what your legacy looks like. Not the legacy of achievement or accomplishment, the legacy of wholeness, of emotional honesty, of love that does not come with hidden conditions. That is the most significant thing a human being can build, and it starts in the private moments that nobody photographs. You came in carrying something. You might not have even had a name for it yet. You just knew there was something underneath the surface of your life that had not been fully seen, something from before, something you had been managing instead of healing, something you had been moving around instead of moving through. And then you sat with the child you were. You let yourself feel, maybe for the first time in a long time, what it actually cost to grow up the way you did. Not to perform that grief, not to intellectualize it, to actually feel it. And that took courage, real courage. Then you looked at the cycles, the patterns you inherited without choosing them, the moment you recognized yourself in someone you swore you would never become. And instead of spiraling in shame, you named it. You chose to look at it honestly and ask, is this mine to keep? That is not a small thing. Most people never ask that question. Then you sat with the waiting, the open loop, the person or the version of yourself you had been waiting for, and you began the work of taking your permission back, of deciding that your life does not have to be on hold while someone else figures out how to come through. And now you are here, at the end of the month, carrying something different from what you came in with, not lighter necessarily. Healing is not always lighter, but more honest, more yours, more directed. You are not your story. You have never been your story. You are what you do with it. And what you have been doing with it this month, the looking and the naming and the grieving and the choosing, that is already the new chapter. You have already begun. This is where the May series ends. But before we go, I want to say something about endings. An ending is only sad if nothing was built. And something was built this month, something real. Something that did not exist in you at the beginning of May in quite the same way it exists now. You have more language for what you carry, more compassion for the child you were, more understanding of the patterns you inherited, more courage to give yourself what you were waiting for someone else to hand you, and more clarity about who you are choosing to become. That is not nothing, that is everything. If this series has meant something to you, please share the whole month with someone who needs it. Follow this podcast on Spotify. Leave a review that helps more people find this space. And stay connected because we are not done. This was 1 month. There are many more conversations to have. I want to close with this. In Jeremiah 29 verse 11, God says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. That was said to a people in exile. A people who were far from home and wondering if their story was already written. And the answer that came back was no. Your story is not finished. Where you are is not where you are staying. What you came from is not what you are limited to. I have plans. That is the word I want to leave over you as we close this month. Your story is not finished. What you came from is not what you are limited to. The wound is real, but it is not the last word. The patterns were real, but they are not permanent. The waiting was real, but it is over. And the person you are becoming, the one who names things and chooses differently, and builds new language and stays in the work even when it is hard, that person is already here. They have been here all along. Go live like it. I am Ife Random. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.